Welcome to Soul Thrive, where we explore spirituality through healing trauma, shadow work, and applying the laws of the universe in order to master ourselves without the fear of the unknown.
All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode on the Soul Thrive podcast. And today we have Geraldine Spurway with us. Geraldine, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself to our followers?
Hi. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I am French. I live in London and I run a marketing consultancy.
Amazing. I'm excited. This is kind of more your area, I think,
Yes,
a little bit more.
I have so many questions for Geraldine.
I know you do. She always comes prepared, which I love, and I kind of go with the flow, which we already know. So how long have you been doing marketing for?
It's going to make me look very, very old, but 26 years.
26 years. Well, you look fabulous.
Actually, I fell in the marketing pot for as long as I can remember. I studied marketing, and my first ever job, I was only 20, and it was selling websites. So I've always been into digital. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you and I are like mirroring right now, big time, because that's my work too.
That's why you're just like, oh, how long has it been? 26, but I don't want to say it. But yeah, very long time.
But I know you have an incredible backstory. So I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and sort of how you ended up even starting the business that you've started. Because I know you've had quite a bit of ups and downs on your path.
Yeah. So obviously, as I said, it's been 26 years, so we're not going to go into the granular detail of how it all started, but let's just say I've always been obsessed with getting people visible, helping people be seen, heard through visual communication, through selling. So I studied business, I did a business school, and then I was working for various digital agencies, but I was never really fitting in because my grandmother was a healer. My parents were both Reiki master, but now it's very trendy Reiki. But at the time, it was like a guru thing. You couldn't really say we're doing Reiki. It was hidden. And so I remember when I was only 8, my parents were doing the ceremony with the master. And at this time, we didn't have any iPhone, or you just stayed where your parents were over the weekend, right? Mm-hmm. So I had my books and the master wanted to show the attendee, the audience, the purity of the energy of a child. So he asked me to come, and he had a pendulum, and he asked me to be at that of the pendulum, and the pendulum started to go in every direction. And then he went to see my parents, and he said, this is not normal. She really has a gift, and I would like to attune her. And I was only 8. Mm-hmm. And from that moment in time, I've always known I was kind of different. I used to, when birds were falling in our garden, I used to get the birds and heal them and have them fly again, or these kind of things. That's always been, I've always known I had something with my hands, but I started downloading and having vision. And then one day it became too strong and I shut it down because it was very scary and I was young. Mm-hmm. Hence why I went into a very traditional path, which was marketing. But every time I was going into a job, I would make a lot of money, I would thrive, and then I'd be like, no, that's it. I'm going to Thailand. I'm going to learn how to do massage, Ayurvedic. I would come back being like a hippie. And then I'd be like, well, there's no money in being a hippie because now it's very trendy. But 26 years ago, it wasn't trendy to be a hippie or boho. I'll be like, no, I'll go back into digital. I'll go back in tech. And it's always been my path of going into very, at some point I left Toulouse when I was born, and I moved to Cannes, and I was organizing the biggest parties for the film festival and making so much money. And I was 25, 26 years old. And I remember at that time I had a lot of suffering. Like when I was 20, I was suffering from depression. And I remember seeing this psychic and telling her, why is life so hard? Why am I suffering so much? Because it's not normal to suffer so much when you're so young. And she said to me something that didn't make sense at the time. She said, you can only help when you've been through this and when you're onto the other side. And one day you will be helping people. And at that time I was like, oh, shit about what she's saying. Doesn't make any sense. But today, 20 years later, I'm like, it's making so much sense. I've been through so many loops and I've seen so many things. I had to overcome depression, always felt inadequate, like I didn't belong. And and today is kind of my life purpose. I help senior executive and entrepreneur build their brand, be visible, being seen and heard. But a lot of them are suffering from imposter syndrome, or they have some wounds that no one sees. And because of my gift, I see the wounds and I help them transform these scars into their power. And that's really how then they shine through and they step into what they're meant to be. So this is why my path is a little bit unusual. Yeah.
Well, you've done a very great way of like the fusion of both elements, because there's this interesting kind of like energy that you're describing of like going and being free spirited, and you have to have an element of that creativity and the divine feminine energy, and like that's where all that beautiful divine energy flows from. And then you had a lot of the masculine component where like the marketing and the business and the money. So it's a great fusion because you have the ability to kind of go into both perspectives. And like, even though it felt probably at the time, like, why am I being so divided into two parts? It was such a great way of you being able to find the balance between both now as you've mastered your experience, time, and craft, right? So I think that makes complete sense. And then also having, I guess, too, that lineage, right? That energy that coming from your grandmother, having even though that type of conviction where like, you know what, here I am, I'm different. I have to figure out what makes me different and how I can show others that they can be different too and unique. But in that, there's going to be depression. In that, there's going to be suffering, right? And so I think that's like completely relatable. I know that for me too, when you're going into figuring out your craft and your journey, right? It is very hard. And I know that you struggled a lot with imposter syndrome. I didn't. I was very different. Like, I think for me it was kind of like, well, I'll see what happens. I'm a little bit like, we'll take the risk and see what happens. But with perfectionism and certain types of wounds that kind of kick in, it's hard to kind of say, I'm just going to live authentically without, feeling that fear of judgment, which we were talking even about earlier today.
But I can relate to even what Geraldine is saying, because I'm also in marketing. I'm in the corporate world. I'm in business. It's all about, like, it's all about making
You're also
money
in
and
your
wanting
spirituality.
Yes, but and then at the same time, I was getting pulled to, go to Bali for a month, start a wellness retreat business, and then we ended up, going all over the world. But it's so funny because I've always felt so split. Like there's this business side of me, and I'm really good at this, so I can't just abandon it, and it's the only way to make money. And then there's this whole pull towards spirituality, and it's interesting. Like, do you find that are you helping your clients also bridge the two for themselves? Because I feel like I've really excelled in my work when I've embraced my spiritual side, when they weren't so separate. So I wonder, because I know you work with executives to sort of help them elevate their personal brand, but there has to be some trauma work there. I mean, I wonder, what do they typically come to you for, and then how do you work with them?
So it's very interesting when you said you've mastered this masculine and this feminine. I've mastered it through a massive burnout, because there was this divide between the very masculine side. I've got a very strong masculine energy, like the do, the hustle, and then you'd see me running my retreats. I've got my sari, and I'm like, oh, let's do this, do that, like completely. I put my crown, and I'm like, let's do the fairy, and it's like I'm bipolar, right? Like what's going on?
Right.
And I've always wondered, that my messaging was so confusing. People were like, well, what is she doing? What does she do? And at that point, I was like, oh, I don't know who I am, because I teach other messages. I channel the messaging that is so clear for them. And I was like, well, I see you as one of genius. I activate you. I'm going to make you very rich, but I can't really explain how, because actually I see exactly what you need to do. And then I do the strategy, and nothing was making sense. And I went through like a proper burnout, and I was like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I need to do. I stopped everything. And I realized I didn't need to to choose, because in reality, the people who were manifesting, and I use consciously the word manifesting, shitloads of money, were the one who were doing the inner work with me. And there was very little strategy.
Right.
You know, the strategy is the same. Otherwise, we would all be millionaire, like Gary Vee, Tony Robbins. We have so many examples there. If it was really working, the templated approach, we'll all be millionaire, right?
Right.
The only difference is that some have mastered the inner work and some haven't. And so when I realized that, I had a client who came to me, she's now a very good friend, and she actually moved to Canada. And she gave me her last 3,000 euro because she is French. And she said to me, okay, so I have all faith in you. I can't work with you one-to-one. I want to join your group program. It was called Spur Your Success. And I said, look, I really wanted to manifest some money before the program. So let's start working together. I'm going to give you one-to-one for 3 weeks before we start. Week 4 of working together, so week 1 of the program, she manifested, she landed a deal of 30K with a corporate organization. But in this time, we worked through, the CEO posture, through all of the wounds she had, the imposter syndrome she was going through. And so she did 2 weeks in the group program, and she said, fuck it, I'm going one-to-one now, because then she manifested another 50K. And she joined in March, April, and December. She hit a multi-six figures. And that was incredible. But in reality, there was very little strategy. All the work was about showing up, the CEO identity, who you were, all of the things that we had to heal. And I guess the way I've mastered this is because I went through that myself. I've worked with shaman. I worked with Reiki. So I'm a Reiki master, but I've stopped practicing Reiki for 4 or 5 years because I realized that the energy didn't suit me anymore. And so I created my own methodology. I trained in breath work. But again, I didn't like the way it was being taught. So I created my own breath work with hypnosis and sound healing. And for some of the executives I work with, initially they're just like, no, I just want a strategy. And then they're like, oh, your thing, that the human design, your thing, can you? And I'm like, well, when you come to me, because to answer your question, when they come to me, so you can read all the testimonial on LinkedIn, none of them know what they want. They're just like, I just want a piece of what you do, and I don't know what it is, but I feel cool. I have to work with you. So it means that they are either on the spiritual awakening, either they just push towards me. So when they work with me, I'm always very clear on the fact that there is a spiritual element. Before we get into the strategy, we're going to get through the shadow work. And then the work is going to be really, really, the growth is going to be exponential. And that's why I said to my client, they used to sell the very, the old marketing tactic, the 6 months program and codependency to make sure you have. Now I said to my client, you know what, let's just do an intensive because maybe it will be enough. And when they're like, do I come back next week? I'm like, no, you need to integrate it. I'm like, oh, I don't see you again. No, integrate and then come back to me. Because for some people, it's going to be enough. And then they come back when they have something else to unravel. So that's why my business model is very different in the sense that when I work through go-to-market strategy, pure messaging, positioning, brand identity, scaling, transitioning from a merger to a tech company, this is pure marketing work. And I have a client like that who told me the team is not very much into moon activation and stuff like that. So do we do that? And I'm like, I haven't even put in the estimate. Why are you asking that? Well, because we had to look at your website. So the website is sold and to strip it, it's going to go down very soon. And they were like, and we sold your testimonial, the moon thing. And I'm like, no, but if you want it, this is there for you to take. But if I don't talk about it, we don't need to do it. So I'd say the executive who come to me, they are being pulled into my world, and there is a spiritual element. A lot of them are very open to, if I say, oh, this is a full moon, I would like you to do right things, burn sage, do a little bit of saging and do that. They just buy into this because they see that it works. But not everyone. There may be 2-3% that are just not into that.
Right. I think most people are more open-minded now in the sense and understand what it takes for an activation, an alignment, a manifestation to actually work, you have to believe that there is energy behind, a momentum behind that. You can't just work from the mental and assume that from this place and only from strategy that you're going to be able to line up. Like it can't just be step by step. And if I follow step by step, because you're not really listening to your own energy and what you're capable of bringing in and what your alignment is and if it's in your alignment or not, and it doesn't mean that you can't create it. You can, but at what capacity as well when it comes to your energy? Like, are you going to burn out in order to get that? Or are you going to learn what aspects of yourself are capable to physically bring that into light, So yeah, I completely agree in the shadow aspect as well. Sitting with your shadow self and figuring out what those limitations and blocks are that are not giving you the full range of being able to manifest your experiences.
But the thing that I do is that there's so disbelief around manifestation and the woo-woo side of things is that I've actually trained with scientists, and we are our thoughts dictate our reality, but it's coming right from Einstein. We are energy. So because I saw so many guru out there and, so many misconceptions about manifestation, suddenly everybody was talking manifestation. I was like, right, how can I make it so tangible that people are actually going to believe into what I'm teaching? So I reverse engineered the whole thing. And when I broke my shoulder skiing, it was 3 years ago now, the doctor told me, first of all, I didn't understand. Like, I'm the best. I'm a very good skier. Why did I break my shoulder day 3? I didn't see an edge. And I was like, why me? Why me? And then I was like, okay, there must be a reason for this. What is the reason? How can you turn your pain into your power? And I decided that I was going to be my proof of concept. So when we came back from the Alps and I was in London, I spin every morning and I was on my back with my arm in my sling. And the instructor was like, dude, what are you doing?
Right. I would have asked the exact same thing. Like, why are you here on the bike with your
one arm,
and a broken arm? What is happening?
What is happening? And I was like, I'm going to be my proof of concept. The doctor all told me, you wouldn't be able to do a headstand before 6 months. You won't be able, it was February, to swim this summer because broken shoulder. I was training, dancing salsa 3 times a week. You won't be able to dance, etc., etc. Done for you. And I'm like, I'm going to be my proof of concept. I'm going to prove that with the power of visualization and energy and breath work, I'm going to fast track my progress. So I had my eye mask. My arms, doing. And I was like, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And visualizing. And they all told me to be do not move the shoulder. And I was like, no, I'm going to move. I'm going to do the opposite. We need movement. We need energy. We need circulation. And within 3 months, I was able to lift my shoulder there. Over the summer, I was able to swim. It was a little bit painful. And in September, I was able to do my headstand and to the salsa again. When they said I wouldn't be able to do that. And I guess what I'm trying to explain is that everything I'm teaching has been scientifically proven. It's not just I've read some books, I've digested, and I'm just vomiting like everyone is out there.
Right.
I've actually experimented everything. And then I decided to train a jiu-jitsu team who were very, very scared to go to competition because you can actually die during a fight because if the opponent touches you at a specific point. And one of the fighter was telling me that it was his worst fear. And as a matter of fact, he was so scared to die because that it was blocking him during the competition. So I've created a whole program for them to literally turn their worst fear into their fuel. And one of them came back with a gold medal and the other one with a silver medal. And this is the way to actually prove to people when they come to you and they're just like, oh, your thing is very hoo-hoo. No, it's science. There's a bit of yoo-hoo. Yeah, I'm going to use my crystal and you're going to see me saging, but there is science behind it because it works. It works for me. It works I work with athletes. It does work.
Right.
It sounds very Joe Dispenza, everything
Yeah,
you were
I'm
saying.
obsessed with him.
Are
Exactly.
you?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
gone to his trainings as well, or?
So there's a very big story about it. I was supposed to go and see him in Paris in September, and everything was booked, the apartment and the retreat. Super excited. I booked like in January for September because he's already always sold out.
Like
I called one of
years in
them.
advance.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, this is it. This is the universe. So excited. My best friend. I'm like, book it, book it, book it. The day before the retreat, arrived in Paris. The event was cancelled with no explanation. So
Oh,
you have
wow.
all these people in Paris waiting. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I've got this apartment and all the money involved, the apartment. And I just said to my friends, right, we're in Paris, we're going to go out. I went onto an Apso house app and I said, okay, I'm in Paris. Any people want to party tonight?
Right.
Literally, some dude replied and we met into a bar. My friend was like, you don't know, so okay, let's go. Anyway, we went there and there happened to be two women with him who also were supposed to go at the retreat and who were friends with this guy and were like, well, the retreat was cancelled. But the point is, at this time, so we made friends, we had a lot of fun, etc. But the point is like, why was it cancelled? Why the thing that I wanted the most was cancelled. And at this time, I was really trying to get some answers. I was at a very sticky point in my business. I wanted to pivot, and I think I was expecting Joe to transform me, to fix
Right. Right.
I wanted that thing. And I was in Paris and I was like, okay, you have the answer within you. So you're going to have to figure that shit yourself.
Yeah.
Not gonna
Yeah.
wait for anyone. And I literally spent 3 days in Paris. Very weird. It was very weird time. Crying, not eating. Like it was so weird. After that party, I was like having a proper meltdown. Oh, I don't know who I am. And then I was like, this is so weird. It was raining. It was raining so much. We were not even going out. And on day 3, I had like an epiphany. I was like, suddenly my messaging became so clear. On day 4, I signed a huge contract. Like literally, I was like, what the hell is going on? And so I was like, we got the refund eventually from the retreat. But the point is, for me, it was like, your work, you've done his work, you're reading this book, you were just expecting for someone to fix you when actually you know enough. You don't need another training. You have it within you.
Right.
Now it's for you to teach. And so that was very
I think too, it just
exciting.
comes down to just like what you said earlier. It's that embodiment, right? It's like sitting with those aspects that you've already learned and understood, the integration. And you're like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I have to integrate this because I've done the work. I've read the book, I've had the experience. I'm willing to go into the pain. I'm willing to feel my feelings. And then I'm willing to integrate that. And that's I feel like that moment of your, like you're saying, your epiphany, that story, that understanding. I've had that experience many times where I'm like, I need to go see this person. And I'm like, oh, no, I think I just need to sit with myself and kind of like become aware of what I've already understood. And that's not to say that you're not going to get something from someone, because you will always get something from someone, no matter what the circumstances are. But where you know what you've done and what you need. And sometimes too, being in like certain countries, right? The vibration of the country that you're in is also going to set the tone for your healing. So
I think the point is sometimes we just in this environment where we are pushed to thrive and to always be visible and to show our success. It's very difficult to slow down, to pause, and to sit in the discomfort. And actually, right now, you were saying it's very cold in Canada. It's quite cold in London too. And I'm quite active on LinkedIn, for example, and LinkedIn is really going into video right now, video content, pushing video content. And I am someone who likes to write, and people would think because I'm a speaker, I speak on stage, that I love speaking, but in human design, my throat chakra is not defined, so it asks a lot of energy from me to speak, and then I need 2-3 days to recover. Even though I love it, it asks me a lot of energy. And I know that LinkedIn is pushing the video content, and I know that I should be sitting there and record some video on how to educational content. But from January to March, I'm a hermit. I like to hibernate. I'm an hibernation. For me, that's not my new year. My new year,
right.
usually start on the spring equinox.
Right.
This is when I come alive. So right now I'm in my cocoon, I'm like, and I know everybody's like, oh, why are you not pushing? And I'm like, because I'm actually not willing to speak so much. And so I guess sometimes you also have to, especially in the core work that you guys do and that I do, you also have to accept that being different and not following the trend is the trend. And
Yes.
you don't have to follow the trend. You can be the trend. And that's what I have decided this year. People were like, oh, January. I started my January in December. December, I was like, okay, what am I going to create in my business? That is out. I hate it. My website is going to go down. These people, I don't want to work with them anymore. And stripping it down to really what excites me.
Mhm.
And then I was like, how do I want to show up? So coming out of the closet, even though we are on LinkedIn and it's corporate, speaking more of the core of the work that I do by extracting the testimonial and saying, this guy was saying that after a call with me, I healed him from what the doctor couldn't heal. It's quite ballsy, but I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to be like being a bit more vocal. But I think it's important to allow yourself to not be part of the big crowd, and especially in our work, to be very unique. And this is how you become magnetic to your audience and to the people that will resonate with you, because we're all super visible online. Everybody's trying to find the next big, to be the next big thing.
Right.
When actually, when you look at if we talk about marketing, if you look at the luxury brand, I'm not saying everybody needs to be a luxury brand, but everybody can have their own definition of luxury. Like not everybody is going to resonate with a Chanel handbag and all these fancy picture with the Eiffel Tower. For some people, luxury is going to be having time with your kids, having time to travel and to have a month, a year in Bali. And it's by finding your own definition of luxury and looking at the marketing tactic of the luxury brand, which is less is more.
Right.
And it's a little bit where I feel more called to go towards right now, creating my own movement of people who are a little bit different, who accept to not follow the crowd, maybe to not grow as quickly as anyone else, but to create a sustainable business, a sustainable growth, something that's allowing you to embrace the masculine and the feminine, and to actually take the time to celebrate the success and to live and to create a community and to lift each other up, as opposed to just, this kind of, oh, I want to be like, no, just work together.
I feel like I embody that. Like, I feel like in a funny kind of way, I was like, that's exactly my motto. Like, I can relate to that, where like it's harder for me in the winter months because I'm like pumping the volume from like spring up until like fall. And then like there's a lull, like a period of like December, January, February. I'm like, I'm so tired. I just want to nap. I just want to slow it down. I'm still doing things, but not to the capacity that I would be doing. And also I find it harder for me to be online in the winter months. Like I do find it very difficult for me to like post more video content or be more emotionally available for people, because when is it my time to recharge my energy and do the things that, feel good for me? So yeah, your brand, I think if we looked at it like that, you're not going to miss out either. I think that's the other thing people get so caught up in. It's like, but if I'm not showing up and am I not doing this and I'm not crushing the numbers and I'm not making the income and I'm not doing all these things that I think I should be doing, you're also missing out on like really great opportunities that can show up. Like, even if you didn't have those 3 months where you thought you were going to achieve all those the goals, you don't know in the summertime what that's going to look like. Maybe that experience that you have in the summer just made up for those 3-4 months, right? So it's learning to work with the universe and that energy, and like really also listening to yourself, which is so key, I think, in like being successful.
Well, I think both of you have mentioned that. I think it's about sort of like listening to yourself and following your own authenticity. Even when it comes to marketing, we tell our clients, not every strategy is copy paste opposed to what everyone else is doing. And it's so funny because I can even tell, speaking of LinkedIn and the increase in video content, I know exactly what you're saying. You can totally tell when someone is pumping out content like for the sake of it because they feel like they have to. And I'm like, get out of my feed. I'm going to start, like, I started muting people because I'm like, I can't, like, you're just pumping out stuff. It doesn't feel authentic. I'm not connecting with you at all. I would much rather you maybe post once every 3 weeks, but you post something valuable. I don't know. I just feel like people need to be tapped into their own energy and do whatever feels right for them, to your point, because when you're coming from a place of desperation and like, I have to do this and I have to post 2 times a day and I have to do reels and I have to do videos.
I think most people have to address what their energy and how they're vibrating with and what their intention is. And sometimes I think too, because like I've been in such a transitional period within the last year that I've really had to like sit back and kind of assess like, where am I and who am I now as I'm evolving as a person and in my craft and in my energy and in my work. I can't just be the same person I was even 6 months ago. So redefining that and taking the time, like you're saying, like at this period, at this time, it's my time to cocoon that energy so that I can transform whatever else down the road. So I think it's like beautiful. I mean, even if someone wants to post every day, all the power to you. I mean, I don't know where you find the energy.
I mean, if it's in your alignment, if you if you feel called to do it, then do it. I
I
mean,
love it. If you have that energy, all the power to you. But I really don't. And I thought that there was something wrong with me. I was like, how is it that I can't? But I'm healing people all day, every day. And as a healer, you can relate to this. Once you've done 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, or you've done a whole week worth of like clients, and you've really tapped into their energy, and you're doing all this healing work with them, there's an aspect of you goes, well, I got to clear this energy off of me. I don't have the time to like now pump the volume with like Instagram or like other media stuff or LinkedIn, because it really is a full-time job in itself. I have to find the balance. Again, I think it goes back to like that feminine and the masculine, trying to figure out that fusion, that balance between both, which is like a forever learning process. But we're doing our best.
I know. And to be honest with you, I've done that. I started LinkedIn 2 years ago, and I've done what the guru was saying. I was posting every day, engaging 2-3 hours, and month 3, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to burn out. Like, it is not sustainable. And then I was like, okay, step back. All these kiddos who are spending their time on LinkedIn, they don't have time to have a business. This is all fake.
Exactly.
How can you have
said
time?
it. You nailed it. You nailed it.
Come on, I don't have time.
You nailed it. They're not structuring a business. They're not structuring connection with people in a specific way. They're not offering that type of value. They're offering like, just, I'm here, I'm doing this, I'm an influencer, I'm creating whatever. And that's great. All the power to you. But running a business is a full-time job. It's a whole other game.
And also anything can work. Like, of course, LinkedIn is pushing video forward facing, when you speak to the camera, when you add value. But I never follow the trend. I'm like a rock star. So I literally posted, it was 2 days ago. And when I pressed pause, I was like, my stomach was like, oh my gosh. It was a video from me dancing in the woods during one of my retreats, but like literally completely channeling and legging. And I'm like, oh, it can go very bad. It's going to go very bad over a while. The copy was very clear. It was the one thing that no one tells you about personal branding. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to lose friends. You're going to be judged because you lose a lot of friends by becoming so public and visible online. So the copy was very clear, but there's a motivational speaker talking, saying, even if nothing is working, keep showing up. Even if no one is validating you, keep showing up. So it's very, very strong. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, fuck it, press it. Sorry. And actually, the most incredible thing happened. First of all, this is my best performing video. Now, it's not in terms of likes, because obviously I've got like close to 300 likes, but not everyone is going to like it because it's a bit like, But the reach is like 15,000 impressions, which is quite big. But the most interesting thing is the message I received in the DMs. The CEO of a big software company, the vice president, who actually asked me to explain to have a chat with me about the new vision that he has for his company.
Right.
So the woman dancing in the woods.
Mhm. I think I saw this video of you in the woods. You come up in my feed. I know. I love it.
I was like, and then another one, so I always ask, I still have 600 connection pending, but the one I accept, they need to be aligned with me. And when I see this vice president here, this is my target. So I'm like, okay. And I always ask them, what made you press that connection request? I'm different, so I want to know.
Right.
And this is always the same. It's always about leadership. You are different. You're showing up differently. You're disruptive. I am disruptive.
Yes.
But that's why I know that, yeah, of course I could be speaking. And I'm not saying I'm not going to do it because I know I have something to share. But I'm probably going to start creating more towards the spring equinox when I feel like my energy is coming back.
Mhm.
For now, I'm going to keep putting my video of dancing in the woods, dancing on the
Right.
beach.
I can't wait to see it. Christina's not on LinkedIn, so
I'm not. I love Instagram. Like, I really do find like my place is very much there. I tried TikTok, I've tried other things, and I've just like, even YouTube, like I post the videos up, but I just don't feel like it's home for me. Whereas like Instagram for me feels like different. Like
but
it
there's a
feels
whole untapped business audience, Christina. We
I'm
talked
not-
about
Yeah,
this.
Christina.
I imagine her in the corporate world. I know.
Well, yes, I'm not saying that I wouldn't transition there.
Right.
That I'm open to what that would look like, but I still haven't figured out the evolved version of that for myself
Right.
yet. So I have to be real about before going
Mhm.
there. I have to have a little bit of an awareness of what my message would be for that type of
And how to,
person,
how to approach that whole world, right? Because
You
it's
know
very
what?
different.
I built in public. I had no idea. I was just writing. I was just
Mhm.
writing, telling stories.
Well, I'm a talker. So like you're a writer, I'm a talker. Like, so it's interesting. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just too professional for me there. I feel like I've got a little bit of the ghetto-ness in me still.
You'd be surprised when you see
Come and
where
see
it's
my
shifting. Yeah.
You'll see. It's just not.
I should. I will
You'd be-
definitely look into
Yeah.
it more. Like I said, I'm open to
Yeah.
whatever-
Okay.
whatever
There you go.
comes, right?
This message for you came
Yeah.
through today.
If you
Ding,
could
ding, ding,
offer,
ding.
yes, if you could offer one little tidbit, a golden nugget for our audience, like if someone was to come work with you, or like what the expectation, not even an expectation, or just a message that you would like people to know, to help them, maybe work with you, or like start on the process, or even just like even educate their energy for the potential of
Yeah.
like lining up with certain things. What would you?
So I'd say for the people who would like to work with me, they have to come with me from a place of desire and of scarcity. Like usually, don't come to me to fix you. Come to me because you're so excited about the prospect of what we can create together. Like you don't know how we're going to do this, but you have full trust in me and full trust in you to make it happen. Whether it's your go-to-market strategy, whether it's your product suite, whether it's your messaging, whether it's becoming an amazing speaker, whether it's creating your own retreat. Just come with me when you're ready for that. Second thing is, for some clients, go a niche, all in. You're an expert and I will help you niche. But for 80% of my clients, it's okay to be a multi-passionate.
Right.
You don't have to feel like an outsider because you're good at many things. And at the very beginning, when you're going to start on a journey, if you're starting on the entrepreneurial journey, or essentially, you're going to feel like everyone is pushing you to niche down. And you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, but I don't want to choose. And eventually, your niche will find you. This is exactly what happened to me. I didn't want to choose. But eventually, I attract people who love technology, who love spirituality, and who actually love to speak. And I never saw myself as someone who would help people be visible or speak, because I'm French and I make mistakes sometimes when I speak. But I never realized that I was always on stage leading retreat. I've been a dancer for very long. I've been a choreographer for 2 years. So I've always been on stage, and I never realized I was a speaker. But I've been speaking since I was 22 on stage. And so when I never wanted to niche, the niche found me. So for those of you who are just like that, oh my gosh, I don't know what I want to do, I would say just experiment. Allow yourself to follow the season until you find your most magnificent dress, and the niche will find you.
I love that
Don't
message.
force it.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your energy. I appreciate that so much. I know our audience really will love this information. Thank you for coming on to the Soul Thrive podcast.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to have been with you tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. This was fun.
I love this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.